在我看来，中美关系的未来可以用毛主席的一句话来概括：前途是光明的，道路是曲折的。We all know that recently, U.S.-China relations have been quite complicated. To me, the future of U.S.-China relations can be summarized by a Mao quote: "While the future is bright, the road will have twists and turns."
Well, I've been in China now for almost 40 years. It will be the anniversary of my arrival in a couple of months. I still remember then you couldn't fly nonstop from New York to Beijing. I flew from New York to Tokyo to Shanghai to Beijing. I arrived at about midnight at the old Beijing airport. And I took a car from the Beijing airport to the Beijing Fandian. And we did not pass one other car on the road from the airport to the hotel. We passed bicycles, we passed ox carts, but no other car. So it was quite extraordinary. The first morning in Beijing, I got up and I heard bells. What could the bells be? I thought there must be a parade. I opened the curtains looking out on Chang'an-jie, and you know what was there? Tens of thousands of bicycles. Bicycles, row after, you could not cross the street. So I've always felt I've been a witness to a miracle. When I first lived in Beijing, first of all, we had coupons, you know, ration coupons. So if you needed meat or you needed rice and things like that. But because we were foreigners, we didn't need them, and my friends needed them. What was extraordinary is the only time my friends got good meals is when I invited them for lunch or dinner. That the best meal that they would get was when I invited them. Now, 30 years later, 35, 40 years later, these same people come to the airport and they pick me up in their BMWs and their Mercedes, and they invite me to dinner. It's a whole different life. I go to places where when I first went, there was no electricity, there was no running water. Now there are high rises, there's air conditioning. The children, people look different. It's quite extraordinary that not only do they dress differently, back then everyone wore, you know, the Sun Zhongzhuang, you know, blue and gray were everything that everybody wore. But more than that, people look healthier. They're bigger, they're healthier, they're better educated. That all of these things are a result of 改革开放. You know, I was born and bred in New York. New York basically looks the same as when I was a kid. The people look the same. I mean, there've been changes, but they're on the margins. You know, Beijing, Harbin, Chengdu, all these places that I went to in 1979 have fundamentally changed. They don't look the same. They don't seem like they're the same city. So I've been a witness to an economic miracle. You know, in the United States, where they have an overly negative view of China, I'm always arguing for nuance. You know, when you look at the things that China is doing that you don't like, please look at the things that China is doing that you do like. Look at what China is doing in peacekeeping in the United Nations. Look at what China is doing in Ebola, you know, in fighting Ebola. And look at these different things, and you'll have a more nuanced view.
I've often thought about the words that Dr. King spoke the night before his death, and I've thought how they apply to U.S.-China relations today. Let me quote him. "Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop and I have looked over, and I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land, so I'm happy tonight. The world will be a more peaceful and prosperous place.